Hi, we're Group 3. I'm tutor Yoo Ji-young. And we draw a mind map about Taiwan and history, politics, movies, places, and food you talked about. And we prepared 3 questions.
Are there any famous K-pop group in Taiwan?
Oh, so I don't live in Taiwan anymore, so I'm not really sure about which specific K-pop groups are most famous, but I am sure like BTS and 101 and EXO and Twice and Red Velvet, all the most famous ones in Korea are also very famous in Taiwan too.
Thank you.
Why did your family move to America?
Why? Good question. So my family decided to move to America mostly for my education, for my sisters and my education. So I can talk more about the Taiwanese education system later, but my parents felt like they wanted to give me and my sisters more freedom of choice in terms of what we want to study and be in a more free and liberal environment to study whatever we want to. And as you know, American education system and American universities are very, very famous. So they wanted us to have an opportunity to go to America and study and have more opportunities and learn about so many different things rather than being restricted by a much more closed and strict education system that is in Taiwan. So mostly for our education.
Hello,
Hi.
I am learning Chinese. If I can speak Chinese better, I would like to visit Taiwan. I hear you immigrated to the US, but was there any racial discrimination?
Ooh, very good question. Racial discrimination. I didn't experience anything that is too severe with racial discrimination, but I would say with my classmates, with my friends, when I was younger, sometimes they would say some things that are a little bit incorrect or some stereotypes, 고정관념. So, for example, oh, you are Asian, you must be good at math and science, things like that. Or, oh, all Asians have very small eyes, or all Asians are very good at studying. Some stereotypes, and maybe they don't think it is a bad thing. They think, oh, being good at math and being good at studying is a good thing, so why are you so angry? But I think stereotypes are very, very harmful to anyone. So sometimes I would experience things like that. But yeah, I think sometimes also, especially when I'm talking to other Chinese students, they would say, oh, you're not Taiwanese, you're Chinese. So that is also another form of discrimination. They think that just because they don't recognize Taiwan's independence, they don't recognize Taiwan as a real country, they just say, they insist that I am Chinese and not Taiwanese. So I think that is another type of discrimination. Good question.
Thank you.
Actually, I traveled Taiwan just 5 months ago, so
Wow.
yeah, I could remind my traveling during your lecture, and I tried stinky tofu, and
How was it?
it was not bad, but I could feel something stinky in my stomach.
Oh, wow. Very pungent.
Yeah, and yeah, thank you for your lecture, and I want to visit Taiwan once again.
Yeah, I hope everyone can have the chance to go. It's a beautiful country.
Thank you.
Hi, we're Group 2 and I'm Tutor Sia. And today was really good chance to get know about Taiwan, so thank you so much for that. And we have a few questions here.
Hello, I
I was so impressed that Taiwan's economy grows faster like Korea. So I want to know how did Taiwan's economy grow so fast, and especially what industry is famous in Taiwan.
Wow, amazing question. One that I do not have a clear answer for. It's a really difficult question. So I saw your question earlier, so I was looking it up on my phone, looking on Wikipedia. Wikipedia knows more than I do. But it seems like there's a lot of different factors. So for example, like I said, there was Japanese colonization, right? Before Taiwanese economy grew rapidly. So I think the Japanese colonization and building the infrastructure and education, a lot of that built a foundation from which Taiwanese economy could start to grow. And then when the Nationalist Party from China came to Taiwan, they had some reforms that they couldn't do in China because they were defeated, they lost. So they started doing some reforms in Taiwan, and slowly but surely a lot of industries were able to grow. And then in the past couple of decades, Taiwanese companies were able to grow internationally as well, especially after we became democratized. So there's a lot of, I was reading the history, and there's a lot of different things, so I can't tell you everything. So I think a lot of it was definitely government control and a lot of good decisions being made. What industries are really famous in Taiwan? I would say that actually technology is a really big one. I don't know if you guys know this laptop brand, ASUS, A-S-U-S. That is a Taiwanese brand. And also Taiwan makes a lot of hard drives. A lot of the parts that you find in computers were also made in Taiwan as well. So I think technology is a really big one. Hi.
You said that you've been to 20 cities in Korea. So my question is, which city was the most impressive, except Seoul?
Good example. They were all really unique in their own way, but I have to say Gwangju in Jeollanam-do. Yeah, I didn't have any expectations before going there, but first of all, I was really interested in the history. As you know, there was the movement in the Gwangju massacre and the history about that. So I have been to Gwangju 2 times, and both times they were celebrating that historical moment. I think May 18th? I don't remember. But anyway, so I was able to learn a little bit about the history, and then I watched some movies about it, so I find it's really interesting. And yeah, and then also it is actually a very artistic place. So if you go to some of the streets, you will find that there are lots of independent artists who make their own crafts and their artwork. And so I think it's really creative, and it's just very vibrant, and Jeollanam-do apparently has really delicious food. So I really enjoyed visiting Gwangju personally, and the people there were also so kind to me as a foreigner. So I really liked it.
Hi. I saw you studied religious study in college.
Yeah.
So, can you explain the religious study that you studied in college in detail?
Yeah. So religious studies is kind of a secular way of studying religion. So secular means not religious. So it's a way for people to study various religions in a lot of different ways and different perspectives, and understand the development and the content of each religion. So for example, I learned not only about Christianity and Buddhism and Islam and many other smaller religions, Hinduism, but more importantly, I think it's to learn about learn to see religions in many different ways. So not only learning about what does each religion believe in, but learn about how did they develop those beliefs. Learning about the history of each religion, the sociology of each religion, learning about how does economics, how does society, how does government, how does politics, all of these things affect the development of religion. So usually when we think about religion, we just think, oh, beliefs, and we think about going to church or going to temple, but religion is so much more than that, right? It affects our identity, it affects our understanding of ourselves, and sometimes religion can be very much part of a culture. So for me, it was learning about a little bit of every type of way of learning about religion, every type of way of approaching religion, and reading lots of both ancient, old texts and readings, and also more recent readings about religion. It's very, very interesting, and if you have the chance to take a religious studies class in college, maybe, I would really, really recommend it. It's really cool.
Thank you.
I have one last question.
Sure.
And I think it's a bit tricky. So I heard that the Taiwan and Korea broke their relationship in the past, and now they don't trade that much, and there's no airline and stuff. And I want to ask you what you personally think about it, and what like Taiwan people generally think about this situation. And
Wow.
I heard that this is because that China wanted Korea to break their relationship with Taiwan, and Korea accepted it because China has such a huge economic market, and yeah.
Yeah, you're exactly right. I think, I think unfortunately not only with Korea but with many other countries, the reason why they cut off their relationship with Taiwan is because China is so powerful, and they would rather trade with a big powerful country than with a very small country like Taiwan. So many people sacrifice their relationship with Taiwan to choose to have that with China. So I think that's really sad. And I think in Taiwan as well, it seems that, well actually I'm not really sure what you meant by there are no airlines between Korea and Taiwan. There's still, like, people can still travel from Korea to Taiwan very easily. But I guess, yeah, in terms of the relationship, the government-political relationship, it's probably not very good. But yeah, I would say that overall, Taiwanese impression of Korea, I think with the older generation, there are a lot of stereotypes about Korea and about Korean people. With the younger generation, it's less severe. People are more open to learning about Korean culture and Korean society and Korean people. But yeah, sometimes when I go back to Taiwan and I start to talk to people and I say, oh, I teach English in Korea, they have so many stereotypes about Korean people, and they ask me lots of questions about it. So I think, unfortunately, because there's not much communication, like 교류, a lot of people don't understand that much about Korea, and Koreans don't know that much about Taiwan. So there's lots of stereotypes about it. But hopefully, I think with more people coming to Taiwan and Taiwanese people going to Korea, we can build more of a relationship that doesn't need to rely on governments. It can just be relying on people's relationships and people's genuine interest in other cultures, right? So, yeah, I don't think our current situation is the best, but I am hopeful that it will become better if people are more open-minded.
Personally, feel very sorry for the whole situation going on with Taiwan and China. And thank you so much. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Everyone's poster is so good. You should be very proud of yourself.
다음 그룹은
Yeah. Hi,
Hi.
we're group 4 and I'm tutor Chang. We drew a Venn diagram based on your lecture of Taiwan and Korea, and we wrote the things in common of both two countries, and two countries are both get colonized and are independent countries. So, and we have 3 questions to you.
Hi.
What is your favorite Taiwan food?
Oh no. There's too many. It's too many to count. Sorry? Just 3? Ooh. Too many to count. Well, I guess one of them would definitely be 蛋饼, which is the egg crepe that I showed you. It's one of the Taiwanese breakfasts. It's very simple, but it's really delicious, and I always love to eat it as breakfast. The second one is probably beef noodle soup, 牛肉面, 无油面, because it's really hot and savory, but it's so good. And my third one, so this is actually a very simple but traditional Taiwanese dessert. I didn't show it to you on the PPT. It's kind of a green bean sweet soup. It doesn't sound very good, but it's really good. And my mom makes really delicious green bean soup. So I always like to eat that. In general, Taiwanese food, if you look at the pictures, it doesn't look really good, but if you eat it, it's so delicious. So I hope you can try it sometime. Hi.
What does the Thailand flag mean?
Ooh, oh my gosh, these are such hard questions. So I'm not completely sure what all the colors mean, but I know it comes from our national anthem. We sing about it in our national anthem. We sing 青天白日满地红. So 青天 means blue sky, 白日 means white sun, as you can see. So the blue sky and white sun, 满地红 means like all over red. So that's just one part of it. But I'm actually not really sure what the significance behind it is. I should do more research about that. These are such great questions, wow.
Hello.
Hi.
What is your favorite Korean singer?
My favorite Korean singer, I have a lot. My favorite Korean boy group is 101. Yes, I love them very much. But I have I love so many Korean singers. For example, I like Heijin, and I also like Dean. I like Crush, and DPR Live, and BY, and lots of rappers as well. Next week, actually, I'm going to 2 concerts next weekend. So yeah, I really love Korean music, especially Korean hip hop. I think it's really cool.
Additionally, as I know, the red color of the flag means maybe the blood for democracy. Maybe. Yeah.
Yes, please teach me.
Actually, I've been to Taiwan this January with her. Where is she? With her and her, and visited the famous places that you introduced to us today.
Great.
So I was really glad to see the familiar places in your presentation.
Yay.
Yeah,
Which one was your favorite?
my favorite was 101 Taipei building.
Did you go up to the
Yeah.
top? Wow.
So that was so beautiful and amazing, and especially bubble teas.
Yes.
Taiwan
So
bubble tea
good.
has no equal.
Yes, definitely.
So yeah, and I'm really glad to listen to your lecture again. Thank you.
You.
Hi,
Hello.
we are Group 1 and I'm the tutor at Hongwon. We talked about the most impressive thing in your presentation. So there are lots of words and we have a few questions.
Hi.
Oh, this is my painting.
Of Zhiwi.
Yes.
Wow. Are you proud of it? Are you proud of it?
Yes. And, Taiwan flag.
Yeah.
when I was 11, I have been Taiwan one day.
Oh, one day? It's not enough.
I went to Chang Museum.
Ah, yes.
So very fun. Yes. I want to be a creator of Korean culture. The Korean culture is like K-pop or K-drama is very famous in the other countries like Taiwan and United States. So I think I should reflect the other countries type when I make new contents. So what do you think about? What do you think is the best attractive source of Korean culture for the other countries' people?
Well, yeah, like as you said, a lot of other foreigners are first interested in Korea because of Hallyu, right? So K-pop and entertainment and TV shows and TV programs and dramas and things like that. But instead of just that, I think once foreigners come to Korea, at least for me, speaking for myself, one thing that I really like about Korean culture is the Chang culture. Yeah, so I think Koreans have this mentality where they hold the people that they care about, their families or their friends, very, very close, and they will be very generous to them. And so for me, I've received a lot of Chang from Korean people, and I've developed that with them as well. And so you can see that Chang culture seep into many different aspects in Korean life. So whether it's giving you service at like restaurants, or treating you, or making sure that you're comfortable in whatever situation, that you're being taken care of, always thinking about other person first instead of thinking about myself first. I think that is one of the most attractive things about Korean culture that I think at least Americans need to learn more about, because American people are very individualistic, very self-centered sometimes, so they're always thinking about ourselves and me first. But I think one thing that I've taken away from Korean culture is always thinking about the group, thinking about other people and showing love to them, not necessarily like being super friendly in the very beginning and like wanting to hug you and being super friendly in the beginning, but getting to know someone and then showing love to them the more that you get to know them. So I like that.
Thank you.
What is your favorite Taiwan movie? And why?
My favorite Taiwanese movie. I don't think this one is. I don't think this one is very famous in Korea, but it came out a long time ago, maybe 10 years ago. It's called 海角七号, which is actually it was all filmed in one of the famous places that I showed you, Kending, which is at the southern tip of Taiwan, right by the ocean. So it talks about kind of some of the people's lives there, and you can feel a lot of the authentic Taiwanese culture and how Taiwanese people interact with one another, and just kind of what is it like working in the touristy area of Taiwan, but also seeing how Taiwanese people interact with one another. I haven't seen that movie in a long time, but I want to watch it again.
First of all, I want to thank you for the impressive lecture, because I didn't know about the foods and the mixed cultures in Taiwan, so I was really impressive. So my question is, what is the difference in educational systems between Taiwan and Korea?
Good question. So actually, Taiwanese education system is very similar to the education system in Korea. So we also have 6 grades in elementary school, 3 grades in middle school, and 3 grades in high school, and 4 grades in university. And there's also something similar to the Sunung in Taiwan as well. So that exam is very, very important. It's only held, I think, once a year in Taiwan as well. So everyone is always trying to study for that exam. Students are in school for quite a long time, but not as long as students in Korea. So I would say that there's also a lot of high competition. The type of teaching that students receive is also very similar to the type of teaching that Korean people receive in their classrooms. And just kind of the whole mentality towards education in general, trying to do really well, especially on exams to get to good universities. I think that is also very similar to Taiwan, but I think in Korea it is much more severe, it is much more heightened. So in many ways, yeah, the education system is very, very similar. I would, when I'm talking to my family about the Korean education system, they say, oh, it's real quite similar to Taiwan. Taiwanese students don't stay in school until 10, 11 p.m., but we also go to hagwons. We call it bushiban. So there's a lot of students who go there. My sisters went to like Taiwanese hagwons when they were students in Taiwan. And yeah, in general, it's quite competitive. We start our school year differently from Korea. So in Korea, our school year starts in March, but in Taiwan, it starts in September. So similar to America. But for high schoolers, we also oftentimes have to go to school during winter break and summer break for supplementary classes and more studying. So yeah, the education system is actually quite similar.
Thank you for your answer.
谢谢。谢谢你回答我们的问题。Actually, I learned Chinese a little bit, and as she mentioned, I've been to Taiwan for one time, and then there from a tour guide, I heard a lot of things about Taiwan and became interested in it. So it was really nice opportunity for me to learn more about Taiwan. So thank you.
Hello, we're Group 5. I'm a tutor in Japan. Like other groups, we've never been to Taiwan before, but we got to learn a lot about Taiwan. So we prepared 3 questions.
Not sure how.
你好。
Since you have since I want to learn in other countries someday, so I want to know like what do you think about American education system?
Are you talking about like middle school, high school, or university? University? Are you thinking about going to American university?
I'm not sure, but like something I want to learn in other countries.
Okay. American university system. Of course, I think it's one of the best in the world, especially if you go to like a really nice university. It doesn't need to be like an Ivy League university like Harvard, Yale, Princeton. Those are excellent universities. But in America, there are so many great universities in general. So yeah, I personally have really enjoyed my time as a college student in America. I think it's different because there's many different types of American universities. So, for example, there are really big public universities that are really focused on research. And so their classes are really, really big. The professor might be really famous in their field, but most of the time they're focusing on writing books or producing research and not so much time focusing on the students. But the students also get to meet lots of different people, and they have many resources and opportunities. For me, I went to Occidental College, which is a really, really small private liberal arts college. and my classes had no more than 20-25 students, and so the professors knew each and every single one of us really well, and the professors really wanted to care for us and help us and mentor us. And even though there were fewer students and sometimes maybe we don't have as many connections as bigger universities, we were able to have great connections with the professors themselves. And so I really enjoyed my experience at a small school. Everyone is very different. Some people really want to go to a big public university and cheer for the big football team and go crazy, but for me, I wanted small school. I wanted to get to know my professors, and I wanted to make sure that I get the most out of my education and I'm able to work with different professors. So I think when we're talking about American university system, we need to think about all the different types of American universities and think about what is your personality, what type of education do you want to receive, are you more like you can take initiative, you can find opportunities on your own, or do you need the university to help you to find those opportunities and encourage you to grow as an intellectual, as a scholar, as a student. So yeah, I recommend going to America, but yeah, there's so many different kinds of universities.
Hi.
Hello.
You said that Taiwan is open mind, free mind and culture. What do you think about Korean culture and Koreans?
It's a very big question. I think in general, from my experience, Korean culture is quite conservative. I'm not saying that is a bad thing. I think there's a good thing to both conservatism and liberalism. There's good things about being conservative, there's good things about being liberal, and both can learn from each other. So I think because in Korea, most people aren't exposed to many different types of cultures and different types of people. Sometimes it's really easy to have stereotypes about other people and other cultures. So I think, in my experience though, a lot of my students are really interested in other cultures and they want to know more about it. So I think if that continues, hopefully Korean culture can be a little bit more open-minded. But at the same time, I do appreciate parts of Korean culture where they are more conservative and they're not as, super liberal about some things.
Thank you.
How do Taiwanese think of China?
Oh, okay. China's government or Chinese people? Government. Not very positive. Well, I think it also depends on who you talk to in Taiwan. So actually, there are many different political parties in Taiwan, and every political party has a different stance towards China. So there are some really, really conservative political parties who think we should have more connections to China. We should be really, really connected to Chinese economy and Chinese government. And in the past, presidents from those parties, they try to be really friendly with Chinese parties and Chinese government. But there's also some really liberal political parties in Taiwan where they said, no, Taiwan is totally independent. We need to cut off our ties from China. Taiwan is the best. Let's try to make sure that we get more support from other countries so we don't have to depend on China. So it really depends on who you talk to. I think in general, Taiwanese young people, people my age, they may feel like Chinese government is trying to take away Taiwanese independence and democracy. So they see Chinese government as a threat and a danger. But there are some older people who also think the same way. Oh, Taiwanese is being attacked by Chinese. But there are some other older people who also think, no, we need to be with China. And they also think Taiwanese people are Chinese people. So actually there's many, many different opinions about Taiwanese history. So Taiwanese politics and Taiwanese society. So it's not so uniform. There's so many different opinions and so many debates about it. So it's very complicated.
Thank you.
Hi.
Hi.
You say China interfere Taiwan so much, so Taiwan can use their flag in Olympics. My question is, when Taiwan will be free from China?
Wow, I would like to know too. I really don't know. It really depends on a lot of different things, both within Taiwan and also internationally. I think one of the biggest things is we need to have more recognition and more ties from different countries. And unfortunately, right now, lots of countries are cutting off their connection with Taiwan because they want to be with China. But I think currently the Taiwanese government is trying to, reach out to other countries and establish more of a connection with those countries, so those countries can support Taiwanese independence first. And once we have enough support from many different countries, then we can start to say, oh, Taiwan should be completely different and independent from China. So I think that's one thing. Another thing is, like I said before, there are so many different opinions about Taiwanese relationship to China within Taiwan. So actually, I think Taiwanese people, one thing that we can improve a lot about is our sense of identity. A lot of Taiwanese people are not confident about their national identity. I think Korean people in general, from my experience, they think, oh yeah, like Korea, we were able to overcome so many hardships in history, and even though we were colonized by Japan, we were able to have a great economy, and now we have a democracy. And in general, it seems like Korean people are quite proud of their history. But Taiwanese people, not so much. There's not a lot of understanding about Taiwanese history, and so a lot of Taiwanese people themselves don't feel confident, or they don't care about Taiwanese politics even. So I think, in order to get other countries to like us, to want to connect with us, Taiwanese people first need to affirm themselves and says, yes, I am Taiwanese, and yes, I am not Chinese, and I am proud of my country, I'm proud of my culture. So I think that's another thing.
Thank you for sharing your story and your answer. Thank you.